Okay, guys, this is the maiden voyage of me doing videos for the notes, so that way we don't have to waste time in class doing it, and you guys can do problems. This is the third section, p.3. This is linear equations and inequalities. Excuse my writing. I'm using a stylus, and it's, well, if I used my fingers, it would be worse. An equation, guys, is a statement of equality between two expressions. You guys know what an equation is. Okay, you don't need me to tell you. A solution, okay, a solution is value that makes, that makes the equation true. Okay, so let's just say in the third slide, in the third box on your notes, okay, it says prove x equals 3 is a solution. I can't spell. Prove x equals 3 is a solution of x to the third minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6 equals 0. So all you would really have to do, and you guys know this, all you have to do is plug in 3 for x. Okay? Plug in 3 for x and make sure that the left side comes out to be 0. Because you want 0 equals 0, that means 3 makes that equation true. Okay? And again, you guys have done that a million times before. Okay? Now, a linear equation, when you guys are thinking about linear equations, you guys always think of y equals mx plus b. A linear equation, though, like the general form, would look something like this. Ax plus b equals 0. So a and b are obviously numbers. Okay. Now, when we're trying to solve linear equations, all right, you're only going to have one variable, but it may show up a bunch of times. For example, in your notes you have this problem. 2 times 5c plus 2 minus 2c equals 3 times 2c plus 3, running out of room, plus 7. Okay, now obviously there are several steps to complete this. The first thing we want to do is we want to distribute. So 2 times 5c is 10c. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down the minus 2c. Distribute the 3, so that's 6c plus 9 plus 7. Hopefully I don't make a mistake. You guys won't be able to correct me. All right. Now, on the left side we have like terms, so 10c minus 2c is 8c plus 4. And then on the right side we have 6c plus 16. We combine the 9 and the 7. Now we have a variable on both sides. My general rule has and always will be to take the smaller of the two variables and move it over. So we want a minus 6c to both sides. So we have 2c plus 4 equals 16. Minus 4 to both sides. I'm out of room. I got to go to the next slide. Hang on. So 2c equals 12. Divide by 2. So c equals 6. Okay. And you guys have done that a ton. We did it in Honors Algebra 2 last year. It's just a review, just to kind of refresh your memories and get things back to where they were last year solving the equations. Now, if you get to a situation like the next box in your notes where you get fractions, okay? Now, there's a couple ways you can do this, all right? The first thing you can do is you can get all the x's on one side. So you'd pick the smaller of the two, and you could move the 1/2 x over by subtracting it. Okay? Now, here's my thing. All right? We all hate fractions. We all know that fractions are bad. So what I would do personally is I would multiply the entire equation by the least common denominator of 2 and 5. And the least common denominator of 2 and 5 is 10. Okay, so what I would do is I would take that whole equation and I would multiply every single term in the equation by 10. It's just one big distributive property on steroids. Okay, so here, 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 and then all the way down here. So 10 times 1/2 x is 5x plus 30 equals 10 times 3/5. Well, 10 times 3 is 30. 30 divided by 5 is 6x, and then minus 10. Okay? So you got to make sure when you do get rid of the fractions that when you multiply by that common denominator, you have to multiply it by everything, not just the fractions, has to be everything. Okay, now you have all whole numbers. This is obviously a problem more to our liking, so we subtract 5x to both sides. So 30 equals x minus 10. Add 10 to both sides, so x equals 40. Now you can keep the fractions if you want, but knowing most of you, you don't want fractions anywhere near you for fear of, anxiety and panic and all of those things. So get rid of the fractions right away, multiply the entire equation by the common denominator, and you should be fine. Next, okay, we all know what inequalities look like. Okay, it's less than, greater than, okay, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. We talked about that the first day, okay, when we did our notation. They're going to ask us to solve. So, again, I'm just pulling these problems right from the notes I gave you. So you can follow along with me as I solve them and put them in your own notes. Now again, all right, we have a distributive property. We got to take the 2/3 and we got to distribute it. So 2/3 times 6x is 4x minus 6 plus 4 greater than 5x plus 1. We have like terms. Negative 6 plus 4 is minus 2. Okay, let's move the 4x over. Okay, subtract 1 over. Now, typically, you look at that and you go, okay, that's the right answer. And it is. But when we look at these inequalities, we always seem to see the variables on the left-hand side. All our solutions, the variables on the left, the numbers on the right. Well, in this case, it's switched around. Well, you can switch it back. Notice how the arrow is pointing at x. So when we flip this around, the arrow is still going to be pointing at x. Okay? So if you want to flip the inequality, you can do that. Just make sure the arrow is still pointing at the variable. Okay? Or it might be pointing at the number as well, depending on which way it is. Now, you'll see the next problem. And again, a lot of you guys probably already know how to solve these, okay? But it's just good review to kind of get you guys back in the mode of solving equations. Now, here you've got an equation. Actually, it's an inequality. Oh, it is an equation. How about that? Okay, it is an equation. Sorry. Either way, we have 4 fractions, okay? We have 4 fractions. We don't want fractions. I think everybody would agree with that. So like we did 2 problems ago, let's multiply the entire equation by the common denominator. So you've got 6, 3, 3, and 12. Now the least common denominator of those is 12. So we're going to multiply this entire equation, because I'm out of room, whoops. So we're going to multiply everything by 12. So we're going to take that 12 and we're going to distribute it all the way through. Okay? So here's what we get. We get 2x minus 4 equals 2/3 times 12 is 8x minus 5/12 times 12 is 5. So now our equation is all in whole numbers, which is what we want. So we solve that out. So we move the 2x over. Okay, I'm out of room on this slide, but you can solve it from there. Okay, so you subtract 2x to both sides. Okay, you get 6x. Add 5, divide by 6, you should get x equals 1/6 as your answer. And again, you guys can work that out on your own. Okay. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is when you have one of these. Whoops. Go back. Go back. Sorry about that. All right. Oh, got to click on that. It's a learning experience for me too, guys. Okay. Now, all right, that is a compound inequality. Okay. They call it a double inequality. That just means 2 inequalities in one statement. okay? So basically there's three sides here. There's the left, the middle, and the right. We have to solve it, we have to graph it, and then we have to write it in interval notation. So let's solve it first, okay? Again, we have a fraction. Let's get rid of the fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this entire inequality by 2, because that's the number on the bottom here. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. The middle fraction times 2 is just x minus 4. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So now, to get x by itself, we add 4 to all three terms. So that goes away. So I have 2 less than or equal to x less than 10. Okay, so that is our solution. Okay. Now, with our solution set, 2 less than or equal to x less than 10. Let me rewrite it here for you. All right, it says to graph the solution set. So you draw a number line. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that wasn't very good, but you guys get the idea. Okay, now remember, we don't do the open dot or closed dot. Okay, we do the bracket or the parenthesis. Now, this sign right here, okay, tells me to do a bracket at 2 because it's or equal to. This sign tells me to do a parenthesis at 10. Okay, so this is, by the way, this is bounded, right, because this interval of numbers is enclosed in the bracket and the parenthesis. Now, if we were to write this in interval notation, it would be actually quite simple. There'd be a bracket, see the bracket at 2, so there'd be a bracket, 2, and then 10 would have the parenthesis on it. So this would be the interval notation. Okay? So, all those problems that I gave you in your notes, we just worked out here. So you can watch this video, you can rewind, you can do whatever you want with it to help you take the notes at home, and then tomorrow in class, hopefully, we can do more problems in class instead of me talking. So hopefully this worked out well. Give me your feedback in class, and hopefully they won't last 12 minutes. Hopefully we can get them to be a little bit shorter. All right? Be good, guys.